Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Mark and you're watching Certified Collectibles. I've had a lot of you guys asking me about Diamond Comics going bankrupt. Their filed bankruptcy last week. How's that going to affect the market? How's that going to affect comic shops, game shops going forward? How it's going to affect the retail collector? So today I'm going to give you guys my opinion on this, how I think this is going to affect the industry overall, and how it's going to affect game shops, comic shops, and able to get merchandise during this period of time, and how it's actually going to affect you guys, the collectors. So if you don't know already, Diamond Comics did declare Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It's not Chapter 7, so they're not going to cut and run. They're actually doing a reorg. Chapter 11 is a reorg. So what they're doing is trying to sell off some assets, bring in some money, pay off their debtors, maybe keep the company going, as a going concern, how it's always been, if they can sell off enough assets. I think they already have sold off Alliance Games to Universal Distribution, so I think they already have a bid for that. So they will be getting some money in for that sale. If you guys don't know, Diamond Comics owns Alliance Distribution, Diamond Select Toys, and CGA, the grading company, for AFA and VGA. So they do have some assets to sell to hopefully raise some money, to get some money in. Maybe they can keep one of those divisions going. Maybe they can keep the comic side of the company going. Who really knows? It really depends on how many buyers they have stepping forward, who actually completes the sale, and how much money they can get in. Currently, they do have some funding to keep operations going, as they have been, so right now you really won't see a difference. If you're a game shop or comic shop and you've been ordering product from Diamond or Alliance Games, everything's going to go pretty much the same as it has been. Like I said, they have secured funding for the operations to maintain, but we really don't know how much funding they got, how long that's going to keep going. So most comic shops and game shops are already starting to seek different distribution relationships with other companies. So as a retail collector, you may see some of your stores carrying a little bit less stock of some of the items while they actually shift those relationships around. But currently, Diamond Comics, Alliance Games, Diamond Toys, all of them are still functioning as they had been. You can still place your pre-orders. Diamond Comics, you pre-order the comics 2 months in advance and they ship on credit. They typically ship either payment due upon receipt, 30 days, depends on what a relationship you have with them. And they're still going to do that. They're not going to demand payment up front. So right now, Diamond Comics is still operating as they have been. Hopefully that continues for a while. Like I said, don't know how much funding they got. Don't know how long they can keep that going without selling off some assets. Like I said, they did have a buyer for Alliance Games. Universal Distribution is buying Alliance Games. Don't really know right now how much they're getting from that and how it's really going to affect how much debt they actually owe. So Alliance Games also going to run as it has been. No change there to the actual comic shops or game shops. And the retail collector, like I said, the only difference you may notice is maybe some of the stores will carry a little bit less product while they shift those relationships around. But really, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference right now. If they can't sell off some of those assets, Diamond Comics they're going to have to liquidate. They've racked up a lot of debt over the years. I still don't understand their decision at the end of the collectible buying boom and the COVID boom in comics. They decided to buy CGA, the grading company. They grades video games and action figures. Don't know why they bought that at the end of that boom. It was already not incredibly profitable to begin with. So to buy a company that's already, they weren't struggling, but I can't imagine they were as profitable as, what was paid for them. So to get your investment out of that during a downturn in collecting, I don't know. In my opinion, it was not really the best move. I don't really have any of the numbers, any of the books. Who knows? It might have been spectacular and just mismanaged and collapsed. But during that period of time, when all the submissions were falling for all the grading companies, it seems like not the best time to buy a grading company, but that's not what they're claiming hurt them. That's not why they're claiming they went bankrupt. What they're claiming in the filing is actually a reduction in consumer spending, a reduction in margin, which I can understand that one, because we actually have a lot of our products made in China as well. And if you're involved in direct manufacturing out of China, costs have risen about 300% in the past 5 years. So I can understand if they're having stuff printed overseas and shipped over. These publishers, Marvel, DC, these guys, or if they're getting their books printed overseas, any of these big, publishing companies, I'm sure their costs are going up in production, and they're passing that along to Diamond. I'm sure they're charging them more for the books that they have to stock. So I'm sure there's hardly any margin there. They don't really claim that they're selling a lot less. They do have a reduction in sales that they declared on their Chapter 11 filing, but the sales aren't dramatically lower. There's no margin, so they're really not making that much on what they're selling. So they're claiming, like I said, reduction in margin, reduction in sales, and just an overall change in the market attitude. So So they're more or less blaming outside forces, the industry itself, for the reason they're failing. And like I said, I don't really know the internal workings of the company. I really don't know what they have done to kind of navigate that landscape. But clearly it was taking on debt. So right now they're in trouble. So they are trying to sell off assets. They are trying to reorganize it. And hopefully they can keep it going. So what does this mean for the industry overall? What does this mean for comic books and games going forward? The loss of one distributor isn't critical to the industry. It's important to have a lot of different distributors. They all charge different prices. So the more you have, there's definitely price competition there. So it's definitely more favorable for stores to buy products from them. And therefore, we can pass savings on to you guys. If there's only one big distributor left after all this settles, then they have all the pricing power. It's not going to be all that favorable. But a company like Diamond Comics and Alliance Games, for those guys that have run into trouble like this, it's a sign, that there's actually might be a little bit more trouble in the industry. We don't really hear of anything brewing from any of the other distributors, but that's a big one. I mean, that's one of the big boys. Diamond Comics has been around for 40 years. So the fact that they're struggling, the fact that they couldn't really navigate, maybe negotiate better rates, better margin, the fact that they couldn't really navigate that landscape, of decreased sales volume, maybe decreased interest. They're claiming that after the COVID boom, interest in comic books fell off. So why they couldn't really navigate that, like I said, I don't really know. I don't really work for the company, so it's really hard to say what their reasons were for adding on that debt. But like I said, currently, really no change. All the stores still going to be ordering the same products. Like I said, it might be a slight reduction, but for right now, everything is going as it has been. But if you are a collector, you definitely want to make sure that you're shopping around a few different game stores or a few different comic stores, because there might be a slight reduction in the inventory people carry while they are shifting those relationships around. But overall, if this is the only distributor that has this problem, the only distributor that files Chapter 11, then there's not really that big of an issue. Definitely keep your eye out, though. If you see more filing, then that's a big problem. But that's my opinion on it. Just want to discuss this with you guys. It is in the news. It is a big deal. Like I said, they have been around for 40 years. So I want you guys to have my opinion on this, what I think is going on. So thank you for watching. Please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. See you guys again next time.